Hey YouTube land, Tyconder's back with another action figure review, and today we are looking at yet another Jurassic World. This is part of the Jurassic World Survival line, which is a follow-up to the Jurassic World Rebirth figure line. And this is the Strike Attack Combat Extreme, or Combat Extreme dilophosaurus. Now, we'll have a look at the packaging before we have a look at the little creature inside. Obviously, it should be up here, and I've already taken it off the tie straps that hold it in place. But we'll have a quick look at the packaging. It is interesting to note we got the Rex back as a signature on the dinosaur packaging. I believe when they did do the previous ones, the not Dominion, the Rebirth packaging, it was the Spinosaurus was kind of more prolific down in the corner. They seem to have kind of gone back to the classic with the Rex, which is kind of cool. And you have a jungle image behind it, and then it showcases a bit of action feature. And again, on the back of the box, there's not much going on. Which one is causing a shadow? It just has a chomping action, it says. And then it showcases other dinosaurs in the wave. So the other dinosaurs in the wave is a Cosmoceratops, there's a Nanotyrannus, and then there's a Dimorphodon. Then out of the other figures in the wave, the Nanotyrannus is a repack of the one that came in the actual Rebirth line. And it was also one of the, I think it was the same name of the Strike Attack. So it was a Strike Attack dinosaur back then as well. In the previous line, it's the exact same paint color scheme. They didn't seem to repaint it. Usually when they do a repack or reissue of the same figure, they'll mix it up a bit and give it a bit of a different paint deco. Not the case for the poor, was it Nanotyranno? So it looks like a little baby Tyrannosaur, but it's an actual Tyrannosaurid, I suppose, of some description. So we're going to move box out of the way, and we will have a look. Oh, actually, just before I do, just to showcase my point, there is one of the previous Rebirth boxes for the I picked up the worst one to try and pronounce, Dilophosaurus. But you can see there's the Spinosaurus in the corner. That was what was on Rebirth, and then they gone back to the T-Rex. So before we'll have a look at Mr. Dinosaur or Miss Dinosaur, whichever way you want to look at it, we'll bring in the old tape measure, and we'll measure it from tip to snout. So tail tip to snout roughly is around 7 inches. So the Strike Attack dinosaur are the kind of next level up from the Frenzy Pack. So the way it goes is you have Frenzy Pack dinosaurs. Now I don't consider the micro blind box stuff, like from the toy point of view. I consider like these are kind of the first 1/18 scale stuff. So it kind of goes Frenzy Pack, the Chomp and Strike, or whatever you want to call it, was it Strike Attack. They've had different names over the years, but it'd be like a similar small scale dinosaur, kind of scaled up. So this is one of what would be a Frenzy Pack one, where it has no action feature, but it's kind of similar in scale, if you know what I mean. It's like a small dinosaur from the fossil side of things, and then it's just either has an slight action feature, or it'll have no action feature. So it kind of goes Frenzy Pack, Strike Attack, or they'll change the name every so often. Then you have like the electronic stuff, Stomp and Roar, all that kind of stuff. They had Roarivores, Stomp and Roar. It keeps on going. There is larger versions that don't have roaring, but they'll have an action gimmick. Like some of the Triceratops will have like a head ram, but they won't have a roar, and then they'll have one with a roar and a head ram or a charge kind of thing. But this one has its own action feature. We'll have a look at that in a second. I know people are like, oh, get into the action feature, get it, and I want to see the action feature. But before we do that, I just have a quick look at the sculpt of this guy, and bring him up close to the camera so you can see. It is interesting to note that it has not too much paint apps on it. And the plastic, the base plastic, is this red, maroony red. Then you have this kind of more, is it burgundy red for the secondary paint. It's not really a brown, it's more of another version red. Or this is kind of, yeah, I would call this more of a burgundy, I can't even pronounce it, burgundy red, if I can mispronounce it better. And then it has this kind of almost creamy white on the crest. And then obviously it has the paint apps for the eyes. And then the teeth are, I believe, painted. Yeah, teeth are painted. So unlike some of the other dinosaurs where they have they don't do the paint on the teeth, where they have like a separate section that goes in and kind of the teeth are separate. This one is back to the old school way of doing the painting on the teeth. Although actually the top teeth, I believe it looks like it is a separate piece. The bottom ones maybe not so much. But there is the action feature. It is basically a head swivel, well, not head swivel, but a head turn and a mouth open. And then if you look very closely inside, there is a spit. And like a green globby, it almost looks like a tongue, but it's not. It's supposed to be the venom spit feature. It is interesting that it does its venom spit without the frill going up. And what I mean by that, we'll have a look in a second. But the other articulation points is the legs and the hands. And then you do have a swivel on the tail, but it's more just for assembly more than anything else. And it's not really, like if you turn it into certain directions, it just looks awkward and not natural. So, and then on the bottom you have the Dinofax app. Now, what I mean, oh, his forearms are actually quite chunky as well, as they're just on swivels. But they're quite chunky compared to previous dilophosaurs. I do love the feet though. The feet claws look a lot more menacing than some of the previous ones. And speaking of some of the previous ones, here's another one of these action feature ones. I believe this is again probably strike or attack or whatever that line is. How do we do the feature on this? Tail up. Yeah. So for this one, this is what I mean by the frill. If you're familiar at all with any of the Jurassic Park dilophosaur species, or not species, but the dinosaur over the course of the films or the movie or the toy line, you'll know that a staple feature of most dilophosaur figures is either it'll have a frill and have this, it won't have a frill at all, or you have an option of having a frill on or having the frill off. Usually the frill indicated that it was going to do its strike, or the venom strike, which meant like when it did something like that, it would open its mouth and then spit venom, and the frill would kind of shake, kind of like the, is it Gila lizard kind of type thing. As you can see, the arms on this one is a lot more slimmer, but the toe nails on the bottom feet aren't as pronounced. They're a little bit more softer, so you do have that. You can see they are kind of pretty much similar in length. The only difference is the posing and the pose that they're sculpted in. Excuse me. So you do have that. Now for a size comparison to a good old bog standard one, or Jurassic human, you have my go-to little dude here with his body armor, and he has sunglasses on that can protect him from the spit, so it doesn't get in his eyes and it doesn't paralyze him. I believe the way it worked in the film is that it spat and aimed for your eyes, which, to be fair, is a very small section of a person to actually try and aim for. You'd have to be fairly accurate with how you get the spit onto their face. I suppose it is a big glob of it, so I suppose the chances of it getting into your eyes is somewhat fairly high. But I think it was in either, I'm not sure if it's in the books as well, but in the film definitely it was like it spat and it tried to aim for your eyes. Didn't say anything about like just getting on your skin. I'm pretty sure it said it was for eyes specifically. So yeah, it is interesting, but that is how this old poor boy met his demise. Good old Dennis Nedry. I suppose I should have brought him in, because I mean, it is his iconic moment. Poor old Dennis Nedry with the Dilophosaur from the first film. I know, the first film is so old now. It's like nearly over 30 years old, I want to say, and I don't want to really admit it. 93, was it? 94? So yeah, it's quite an old film now at this stage, and it was at the time a spectacular uh, film achievement in its own right, cinematic achievement in in animatronics, in special effects. It like blew stuff out of the water, and it's still to this day is a great film to watch. It does have its, you know, you can pick it apart. It still has its like plot holes that go nowhere and stuff like that, but most films do. But overall, it is a really good film, and I'm getting sidetracked. The dinosaur is a really good dinosaur. It is one of my favorite dinosaurs from the film franchise. I always liked the dilophosaur, and it does seem to show that a lot of people do, because out of some of out of some of the releases, the dilophosaur is usually one of the hardest ones to get, because they tend to sell out really fast for some reason. Even especially in the case of the Hammond collection one, which I do have but I don't have to hand. That was the more articulated line. You cannot find that one on the secondary market for nearly less than, I want to say, $50 to $60. When it originally came out, it was only 15 quid. So it is insane how much the markup on the Dilophosaur figures go. But other than that, it is a really cool sculpt. I do like it. It's a bit more chunky than in some spots. Like, as I said, the arms are a bit more chunky than you're used to. It's pretty much on par to most Dilophosaurus scaling, even though I think it should be a lot smaller. It's just because of the scale of that they're working with. If it was smaller, it'd be far more, I wouldn't say it would be fragile, but I don't think they would have been able to get the articulation in or the action features in as much as they would on slightly larger versions. I do believe the Frenzy Pack kind of version of this is a smaller scale, slightly smaller, not by much, and they're usually in kind of a different pose. Unfortunately, most of mine are packed away at the moment, so I can't get them. So all in all, it's not a bad figure, so I'm going to leave it there. I do recommend picking it up if you can find this one. I got this guy in Smith's. They have them on the shelf at the moment. At the time of this recording, how long that will last, who knows, because the Dilophosaur does sell out pretty fast. So I'll throw a link in the description of the video below to where I found it. And as always, have a great day. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you found it informative. And as always, enjoy your day wherever you are in the world. Cheers. Thanks for watching.